Thank you for joining me and watching my video on App Inspector. By now you would have downloaded the utility off of the DX. We're just going to go walk through the user's guide and do a quick demo, try to give you a high-level demonstration of what App Inspector can do for you. It's just a SQL script. That's all it is. It's a very powerful SQL script at that. What you want to do is after you download it, you want to run it against your database. So I'm just going to hit execute right here. And it provides to you out results, any risk to your environment, or it'll give you some type of informational items. What I recommend you do is when you run this and you get the result, you want to click here and then right mouse click and copy with headers. And then you want to paste it out to Excel. So I'll pull up one I did previously. This is what it will look like if you put it in Excel. It makes it easier to read. You can filter out, you can highlight and things like that. And it just makes it a lot simpler versus just to read the grid right there. You will notice one of the first things we do is we provide some informational things up here. Welcome to App Inspector, and it will just give you some description of what it does. Moving further along, it'll give you reporting instructions, and I'll go over that later. Most importantly, in these series, these check codes right here, the 100 series on forward, it'll give you diagnostics information. Things you can use to troubleshoot. This priority rank column is also very important. This here is informational. It really doesn't do anything, but when you get down to something like this, medium low, this is doing a resource unclean exit. Automate exe was killed all of a sudden, right, without a clean exit. You know, a lot of times when you do restarts and things like that on a computer, that happens. It will tell you, you have 93 resources with unclean exits in the last 90 days. But if that's unusual for your environment, you might want to look into that. Some people is okay because they just reboot their machines. It'll tell you how many times it had to do that during this duration. So those are some of the checks, and we'll just go over some more. Here's one that's high. It is checking for pending sessions right here. Let's read what the details are. So fail, App Inspector detected 20,000 pending sessions in the last 7 days. Please review the KB article. Consider using pending session starter VBO found on the DX if you haven't already. There is a utility out there also on the DX that will recover from pending sessions, but this will let you know how many times it occurred. If you use that utility, you can ignore this particular item. It's just letting you know this is how much you had in your environment. On these line items, these diagnostics code, this is diagnostics code 204. You will see the version in which it was fixed. If you're running this in version 7.5, it will just tell you you are not at risk for this particular issue. It'll let you know that you're not at risk. Here you have the KB article title, How Can I Correct Sessions That Are Stuck in a Pending State? And it will also tell you where the URL is of the KB article. You want to read through this. We don't put the details here on purpose. It's a diagnostics check. It's not the right repository to put super granular details. It's just telling you have a problem. So you'll want to go to the KB article for that. If you want, here I do a results. There's a results column. You can do pass or fail. For the most part, pass or fail. There are other things. You can filter out for all your fails and go through, filter out the results sets and go through the diagnostics item that way. You could do that. And here, when this was ran, it'll tell you, this one ran March 25th at 11:50. And SQL out, this is any SQL that might be helpful in your troubleshooting. Sometimes it has it, sometimes it don't. But that will tell you at a quick glance what this utility does. Now that should give you an understanding of how to use App Inspector. Now that we've gone through what App Inspector is, let's go back to the user's guide. And here in the user's guide, I'm just going to walk through all the major sections. And that should give you an idea of how to use the tool itself in more granular detail. On section 2.1 here, if you resolve on your own using a KB article from App Inspector, we would like you to submit a ticket with the title App Inspector Fixed, plus a diagnostics code such as 400. In this case, it would be app-inspector fix 400. Add any relevant details you would like to share. even though you use a KB article and you self-resolved it, we still would like that a ticket logged with that specific error code, and that is for metrics or make adjustments to the program. That helps us gauge how often this issue reoccurs across our customer base. So we do ask you submit a ticket that way. If you got a diagnostics code that you need help with, let's say, for example, you don't have a KB article or you didn't resolve it, go ahead and submit a ticket app inspector code and then just put the code and then support will reach out to you and we'll help you resolve that. Now going to section 3.5 of the documents, the settings section. Inside the scripts, there are settings where you can control how the scripts behave. Okay, on these settings, to get to the settings, what you want to do is you want to do a find. So if I go to edit, find, quick find, you want to do -- begin. So if you do that, it'll take you to the beginning of the settings. This is currently at line 361. In the settings, I put the most important 3 settings. If you do change it, that will occur in the scripts. In these settings, the 3 most important recommended settings you need to be aware of are right here. There are some things that the database cannot determine, and sometimes you do have to hard code values. For example, this hard-coded version assignment, the script will try to auto-detect, and if it cannot, it'll just give you a message saying, hey, I need to exit because I can't figure out what version you're on. It's probably good just to hard code anyway, so if you're on like version 6.10, you would want to do something like this. I call it the 2-dot version. So there's 2 dots. You want to put like 6.10 and then whatever the minor is. So that'll tell which version of Blue Prism your database is. And that's important because some of these issues were resolved already. So if it's resolved already in certain versions, it won't do those checks. Store results in permanent table. When this thing is set on, which is the default, it will create a table called App Inspector to store the results in. And the default is 1. So if you put to 0, it will not create the table and it will not store the results there. This is an environment where the DBAs, they want more tighter control. They just don't want your application just to create tables on demand. If you have a permissions issue, you get an error message, you can't create the table, then just go ahead and set this to 0. If you set it to 0, it won't attempt to try to create the table. Okay, this setting, 101, manual app server account. When this thing is set to the number of app servers, it will help the script better. By default, it's -1. It will try to calculate the app servers, but it's not always accurate. So the best thing for you to do is put in the number of app servers that you know you have. By letting the script know how many app servers you have, it will give you a more accurate calculation of some of the diagnostics numbers. Okay, other things you need to be aware of. There are other settings, and a lot of it is to allow you to adjust certain thresholds in case the script settings is too sensitive. And I'll give you an example. Let me go down to this 500 series. So if you look at the record count here, 503, it will perform record count on the table BPA tag. In this first one, if you have more than 2 million record counts in BPA tag, then it will throw an urgent warning. Now, every customer is a little bit different. You can change this. So you can change it if it can handle more, for example. You can increase it. If it cannot, you can lower it. That will tell you that you have a problem. When you go do the investigation and it turns out your environment can handle less, then you want to lower this number. So this number might be 1 million. You want to throw an urgent at 1 million records instead of 2 million. So you can tweak these numbers. Every environment is different. That's why we have this settings section, so you can go in and change it as you need. So now that we've gone over the settings, one other thing you should be aware of is upgrading between scripts. We imagine that these scripts, as we run into customer issues, the script itself will be upgraded quite frequently. As we discover, for example, customer ABC, we ran into this issue, we'll update the script so that it can detect that for other customers. I believe it will be updated once a month on average. When you're upgrading, the challenge with that is when you always start fresh from a brand new script, you'll end up losing custom settings that you did on a previous script. To counter that, what we tell you to do is copy all the settings from the previous versions and copy it over to the new version. So here's script version 2, and here's script version 3. Just copy over your custom settings, just replace it in those sections. You don't want to override the new settings. So in case there are new settings for version 3, you want to copy only up to version 1 and 2. We'll have it separated out so you know which settings apply to which versions. So it'll always be incremental. Like if you have a list of settings and we produce a new one, it will be at the tail end of the settings section. You want to copy up to, in this example, version 2. That way you will override the previous settings to the new script. And then here you'll want to see if you need any custom settings, and you can always change it there. Okay, getting notified of a new script. We do have a little link in the communities where, let's say I just click right here. And if you subscribe to this App Inspector upgrade notice page, if you subscribe to it, it'll notify you when there's a new script. Okay, so I strongly recommend you do that. Okay, using as a scheduled job, you can move the contents of that script into a scheduled job to run weekly or daily or monthly, however you want to do it, what suits your needs. If you get an urgent priority, you can have it send you an email saying, hey, App Inspector ran and we got an urgent priority. Give yourself an email, and that way someone can look into it. Performance impact. This will not impact your environment very much. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to run. Now, as I say that, if your environment is already stretched, like it's just already generating error messages, so this might hurt your environment, but for the most part, it is safe to run during production. All of the queries have a no lock specified, meaning it will not lock up the tables, etc. But it does take a little bit of processing time, of course. It's not going to be heavy. It's very, very lightweight. We do value your feedback. You can always write me. I am the tech lead. I am a principal solutions engineer. Here is my email address. If you have any thoughts or concern, I'm always welcoming to those feedback. If you did have a sequel that you did on your own, so you did some troubleshooting or you got support engaged, and you think it's helpful for the broader Blue Prism community, we definitely would like to add that sequel to App Inspector so all our customers can validate if they have an issue or not, the same issue that you experience. It will save them time. It will get straight to the root of the problem without a ton of troubleshooting. So we do value that feedback. Just go ahead and, again, email me, or you can add a request here in the community thread. So we do have a little thread that you can reply to, and we'll get that sequel into the App Inspector utility. Okay, with that, I thank you for your time today, and I hope that gives you a good understanding of App Inspector and how it works. Thank you so much.